this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel, and we are commanded to love one another. Today, I want to talk about Sage Steele. She is really not somebody that I keep up with. I just know about her working in the sports world. But lately, she has come under criticism by Black Americans for constantly dragging Black Americans into some kind of a negative conversation that she wants to have with white people. Now, mind you, Black people are not bothering her. Black people are not bothering her. She's married to a white man. She has 4 children. It seems that she pretty much operates in the white world to the best of her ability. And so Black people are confused about why is she dragging Black people into her conversation. She is biracial. She has a Black father and a white mother. And she identifies as biracial, which nobody cares. Black Americans, more than anybody, are used to biracial people. It does not come as a surprise to us that anybody is mixed or biracial or whatever they want to call themselves, because some of our greatest leaders were biracial. Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, Walter White, who was the executive secretary of the NAACP for almost 25 years. And of the first Black members of Congress, all but one was mixed or biracial. And if you go and look at HBCU presidents from way back in the day, they were either white or white-like. They were Black people, but they looked like white men. So we're used to mixed race or biracial people. So the question is always, why is she always making a case about herself being biracial? And I finally came to understand it's because she looks like a Black woman. So she has to keep reminding everybody that she is not Black. She is biracial. So she stands on that hill and fights for her biracial status, even though nobody is challenging her. It's kind of ironic that biracial women who look mixed or biracial will fight for their right to be called Black women. And here you have a biracial woman who actually looks like a Black woman, and she's fighting for her right to be biracial because she knows better than to cross that line and call herself white, because white people are very protective of their image. But I believe that her anxiety comes from the fact that she looks Black. Everybody knows she looks Black, and she will say that it's Black people that's calling her Black, and Black people will. Black people will call her Black, but guess who else will call her Black? White people. Because then we just see Caitlin Collins correct Bakari Sellers on CNN when he called Nikki Haley a white woman. Caitlin Collins came right back and said she was a woman of color. She was not going to let that segment go with that whole idea of Nikki Haley being called a white woman hanging in the air. So she immediately corrected him. And looking at these women side by side in these particular pictures, they don't look that different. But because she knows that Nikki Haley is Indian, she's not going to let anybody get away with calling her white. Because being a white woman is such an exclusive club, everybody wants to be in it. But since we're always trying to drag in any kind of stragglers that we can to call them Black, nobody wants to identify with us if they are not of our ethnicity or lineage or of African descent. Nobody wants to identify with us. So that means that we need to make our group more exclusive and not let everybody feel so free jumping up calling themselves Black when they can't fit in anywhere else. Sage Steele clearly wants to be in the white girl club. She wants to be able to identify with white women, but she knows she doesn't dare go there because she doesn't have the phenotype that would allow her to even almost pass her features, look, she doesn't look at her besides Whitney Houston. They look very much like they belong to the same race. Her phenotype is not that different from Whitney's that she would look like she would belong to another race. And I believe that that is the source of her problem. That is why she's always defending her biracial status, because she's afraid people will see her as a black woman, as if that's the worst thing in the world, I guess. And she will go on a tangent about that, saying that black people call her a sellout because she doesn't identify as black. I don't doubt that some black person may have said that to her under some circumstance. But we're used to actual black people being sellouts. So it wouldn't be anything unusual about her being a sellout or about somebody calling her a sellout. It's just not something that you need to talk about all the time, because black people are used to biracial people and black people are used to sellouts, whether they're black or biracial. So black people are looking at Sage Steele crazy and talking about her because she's bringing unnecessary attention to herself. Black people don't really want this fight with her because it's a silly fight. And she's out there telling white people that she's really taking a stand for her biracial status, just like she's Martin Luther King or somebody, freeing the world of the hatred against biracials by black people, when there is no such thing. It's a figment of her imagination. Black women are starting to rail against biracial women for trying to identify as black when they're not black, when they're biracial, because they're taking away resources and job opportunities from actual black women, and also trying to take the biracial status, the look of the biracial woman, as the standard look for black women. So black women are having issues with that. So nobody is campaigning for her to be black. And I believe that she's just using this as an attention getter, because she wants attention, but she wants everybody to know, I'm not black, I'm not black, I'm biracial, when she looks black. And if somebody comes in my comment section asking me what is black, I'm just going to ignore that comment or remove it. You know what black is. Or in case you don't, a black woman or a black man has a black mother and a black father. And if you don't know what that is, I can't help you. So I maintain that black people are not upset with Sage Steele for being biracial and are not calling her a sellout for being biracial. But there are some questionable things that she does that looks like she's pandering to white people. And black people always have a problem with that, especially if they're using their blackness as the excuse. For instance, black women have a real thing about not letting people touch their hair. So she was supposed to be interviewing a white man. I don't remember who he is. But anyway, he's sitting up there supposed to be answering questions, and he just stops and says, "Can I touch your hair?" And then she leans over and lets him touch her hair. And he turns around and says, "Oh, it's very soft." Well, yeah, most of us have soft hair. She has maybe a little bit more curl in her hair, but she has afro-ish hair. And that's why he wanted to touch it. He never would have asked a white woman to let him touch her hair. And then she sat there laughing, cackling. Well, I think I've got the clip.
Yep, cable TV, it's awesome. Hatred. Do you have to have hatred to succeed in this sport? Because here's the thing. He's a really nice guy behind the scenes. I mean, do you have to hate your opponents to win?
Can I touch your hair? Can I feel? I love your hair, by the way.
Random.
That has never happened before? Because everybody that's
I
sitting in this chair is thinking, and I can assure you, that's real hair, people, and it's very soft, I might add. What is the question about Saturday night?
I have no idea.
John Jones is going down.
Now I'm going to make the claim that he's been wanting to touch a black woman's hair because he said that's what everybody wants to do. So wanting to touch her hair, not because she's white, not because she's biracial, but because she's got that afro-ish hair, that texture of hair that nobody understands. And she really doesn't appreciate the fact that her hair is probably more interesting to her friends and acquaintances that anybody else's hair that she knows, or then the hair, the straight, stringy, greasy hair that get head lice that she apparently would like to have. But her hair is a whole lot more interesting and beautiful. And now that Barbara Walters is dead, she's claiming that there was a slight altercation between her and Barbara Walters when, on The View, Barbara Walters asked her what she identified as, and she said biracial. And then it was something about, well, President Obama is biracial, and he identifies as black. And I think she said, well, that's his choice. And then later on, she said Barbara Walters elbowed her because she didn't identify as black. That didn't make any sense to me. I mean, why would Barbara Walters care what she identified as? So that's something that she tries to play to white conservatives. She knows they don't like President Obama, and she knows they don't like Barbara Walters, or didn't like Barbara Walters. So she's going to try to make herself, again, trying to make it seem like, oh, I stood up to Barbara Walters. I told her I was a biracial. Just like, again, trying like she's Martin Luther King or somebody. So she's a ridiculous lady. She really wants to bring attention to herself. And so maybe she thinks that if she says it enough times and says enough things disparaging black people, that white people will accept her as white. And that's just going to be wishful thinking forever on her part, because she will never be accepted as a white woman. So biracial is the best that she can do, and frankly, I don't think anybody cares. So Sage Steele wrote on Twitter, "For years, I've been called a sellout because I identify as biracial, or that I'm not black enough. For all those biracial kids out there, I pray that you don't wait as long as I did to realize that you don't have to accept that hypocritical BS. You are perfect the way you are." So that's what she said. So Mark Lamont Hill, who always has the time, came back and said, no one has ever called Sage Steele a sellout for this reason. No one. And I think a lot of us agree with him on that. She came back and said, when people like this have the audacity to speak for others and claim they know what others have experienced, especially people they've never met, never talked to, don't have the decency, courage to reach out and have an actual conversation, these people hate the C word. And she means conversation. So she's just saying Mark Lamont Hill is just shooting from the hip, doesn't know what he's talking about, and doesn't have the courage or the decency to have a conversation with her. He comes back and says, with all due respect, Sage, you're missing the point. I don't claim to know your experiences. I'm explaining why black people call you a sellout. It's not because you're biracial, as our community is filled with biracial people. It's because your words and actions are viewed as anti-black. So he hit the nail on the head. She goes out of her way to pander to white people and scream to the world that she's biracial, she's not black. She never says, I'm not white. She always says, I'm not black. So some black people are offended by it. So anyway, the big thing with her, though, is that she's just trying to get attention. She wants to be relevant in a world where she's not relevant. And she wants to latch on to the white community. And this just so far, white people, especially white women, are going to let you go. They are going to protect their image and their status as white women in America. And you can be biracial, or you can be multiracial, or whatever else you want to call yourself. If you're not a white woman, you're not a white woman in their eyes. And it must be terrible for her to look in the mirror and see that she actually looks like a black woman. And so she just needs to get somewhere and sit down, because she's not relevant. And she's not going to be able to make but so much out of running around claiming that she's not black, she's biracial, because at the end of the day, nobody cares. But anyway, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.